Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back. We're continuing our study of biographies. Let's start with our riddle first. What do sea monsters eat? It's because we're reading Manfish, a story of Jacques Cousteau. Let's jump in. Manfish, a story of Jacques Cousteau by Jennifer Bernay, illustrated by Eric Perberet. Okay. Bubbles rising through the silence of the sea, silvery beads of breath from a man deep down in a strange and shimmering ocean land of swaying plants and fantastic creatures, a manfish, swimming, diving into the unknown, exploring the underwater worlds no one has ever seen and no one could ever have imagined. Our story starts so many years before in France with a little boy born under the summer sun. His parents named him Jacques. From the very beginning, Jacques loved the water, the way it felt on his hands, his face, his body. And water made him wonder. He wondered why ships floated, why he floated, and why rocks sank. One day, Jacques read a story about a man who hid underwater by breathing through a long tube. Jacques tried it and discovered it was impossible. He dreamed that someday he would be able to breathe underwater for real. At night, Jacques dreamed he could fly with birds among the clouds with his arms stretched out like wings. Jacques spent his days playing, experimenting, and creating. He wrote little books that he illustrated with his own drawings, and he was fascinated by machines. He studied blueprints and built the model of a crane that was as tall as he was and actually worked. Movies fascinated Jacques. He wanted to know how they were made, how the cameras worked, how chemicals made pictures appear on film. Jacques saved his allowance penny by penny until he had enough to buy a small home movie camera. The first thing he did was take it apart and put it back together. Then he began to film everything around him. He put his brother, cousins, parents, and friends in his movies. He dressed up as a villain with a painted-on mustache, and he made some very villainous films. Jacques was always the star, the director and writer, and usually the cameraman. When Jacques finished school, he joined the French Navy. His ship sailed all around the world, and everywhere he went, he filmed what he saw. In China, he filmed men catching fish with their bare hands. They held their breath underwater for many minutes. Jacques wondered what it would be like. One day at the beach, a friend gave Jacques a pair of goggles with rubber frames and glass to look through. Jacques wore them into the ocean. Beneath the water, he was surrounded by a silvery green forest of sea plants and fish he had never seen before. Everything was silent and shimmering. It was a whole new world. When he came up, he saw ears, people, cars, people, buildings, and telephone poles. Once again, he went below the magical underwater world. And at that moment, Jacques knew his life had changed forever. His eyes had been opened to the wonders of the sea. Jacques and his friends Philippe and Didi began to dive together. They experimented to see how long they could stay underwater. Jacques created a waterproof case for his camera to film the amazing kingdom he and his friends were exploring beneath the surface. They made rubber suits to keep themselves warm and flippers to help kick better, but Jacques wanted to stay down longer than just one breath at a time. He realized he needed more air with him, enough air to explore the mysterious depths and vast expanses of the ocean, to swim through the sea as free as a fish. He wanted to become a manfish, and he began to work on just how to do it. On a warm summer day, Jacques stepped into the blue Mediterranean Sea with his new invention. He called it an aqualung because aqua means water, and our lungs are the part of our body that holds the air we breathe. Below the surface, Jacques swam and glided and dove. He did flips and somersaults. He stood upside down on one finger and laughed bubbles into the sea. Jacques could now breathe the water. Now he could swim across miles of ocean, his body feeling only what scales had felt, his eyes seeing what only fish had seen. The water made him feel like he was flying, just like in his dreams. Jacques had done it. He had become a manfish. Jacques was ready to explore the world. He needed a boat and found a big one. Big old wooden Navy ship, Calypso. In a year, he turned it from a warship into an explorer ship. Jacques, Philippe, and Didi gathered a crew, their aqualungs and their hopes and dreams, and set off to explore the inside of the sea, film a world that no one had ever seen before. Turn the book this way. On their journeys, they dove deep into the seascape of plants, green with purple, prickly plants, red branchy plants, spongy plants, wispy feather swaying plants, slow dancing to the rhythms of the sea. They discover plants that could feed you, plants that could poison you, plants that look like fish, and fish that look like plants. They swam with giant whales, hitched rides on sea turtles, and made friends with porpoises with shining eyes and smiling faces. They filmed fierce and frightening sharks. So strange and dangerous, Jacques and his crew had to build a cage, not for the sharks, but for themselves, so they can make their movies without being hurt. Look back over. Oh, even more. Oh, in a second. Their cameras captured camouflage scorpionfish, ugly as toads, with poisonous spines, dorados, brilliant shiny fish that glowed the colors of emeralds, sapphires, and rubies, checkerboard fish with red and white checks from head to tail. Sorry, this book is not wanting to stay. Deep down, they discovered a kingdom of giant ray fish that fly through the water with wings that swim. They came face to face with fish as big as a truck, with long fangs like giant tires, huge saucer eyes. On the bottom, they found pink ghost crabs with eyes on long stalks buried so deep in the sand they looked like a garden of eyes, and flute fish with heads like horses and bodies the shape of tubes, sticking out of rocky openings like pencils in a cup. Everywhere Calypso went, Jacques and his crew made films of what they saw. Films that played in movie theaters, films that played on TV. Millions of people all over the world discovered the wonders of the sea for the very first time with Jacques, Philippe, and Didi and their adventurous crew. After Jacques spent most of his life making movies about the sea, he saw something shocking. Plants that used to be alive and healthy were being poisoned. Fish were sick and dying. Jacques saw that people, without realizing it, were slowly killing the sea and its creatures by dumping garbage and poisonous chemicals into the ocean he loved so much. Jacques knew what he had to do. He had to make movies to warn people, movies to save the sea. Jacques spoke to presidents, to kings and queens, to people all over the earth, asking them to help save our oceans, our planet. And he spoke to children. Jacques dreamed that someday it would be you exploring the worlds, never seen, never imagined. Whole new worlds, silent and shimmering, worlds that are now yours to discover, to care for, and love. Pretty amazing story about Jacques Cousteau, the manfish. So now let's answer our riddle. What do sea monsters eat? Fish and ships. Get it? Not fish and chips, fish and ships. I miss you. I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.